United States is the birthplace of many well-known genres of music, including blues, jazz, and rock and roll. Blues originated in the oppressive experiences of African Americans in the Deep South around the end of the 19th century, so it usually expressed feelings such as sorrow, trouble, loss, despair, and regret. But blues is not always about depressing feelings. When it spread from the countryside to urban centers, more happy aspects began to appear in its content. During the 1920s, blues grew in popularity and many blues musicians emerged as a result. Of all those famous blues singers, William C. Handy's name will always be high on the list, for he has made the blues accessible to white society and propelled it to a dominant force in American music. No wonder he is always remembered as father of the blues. Like many other music genres, blues has been subjected to countless revivals and reinterpretations. In the contemporary society, many people still love it. Blues will always be an important and vibrant part of American popular music.
Well, now it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I can't even close my eyes. 3 o'clock in the morning, and I can't even close my eyes.
Like the forefather blues, jazz is one of the first truly indigenous music to develop in America. As a unique American contribution to the arts, jazz has appreciative fans from all over the world. It was once said that 3 things that American culture will be known for are the Constitution, baseball, and jazz. Jazz originated in black communities in New Orleans around the turn of the century. From the very beginning, African American musicians were the core innovators to develop jazz by melding blues, popular marching band tunes, and other styles of music. What has made jazz different from any of the earlier styles, however, was that musicians in a band would improvise while playing jazz. Later, to escape the prevailing racism of the South, many African Americans moved to North. So jazz was brought with them into the cities like Chicago and New York. White performers began to join black performers and made jazz more popular. While African Americans have long suffered the racial discrimination, famous African American jazz musicians like Billie Holiday and Louis Armstrong were breaking the barriers and gaining popularity among both blacks and whites. Therefore, to some extent, it could be said that jazz was also a powerful force in facilitating the unification of the country. Talking about jazz, we should definitely mention Jazz Age, an age that was named after a specific genre of music. The period after the end of World War I, continuing through the Roaring '20s and ending with the rise of the Great Depression, is called Jazz Age. It was an age of dramatic social and political changes. During this period of time, industrialization, urbanization, and modernization have brought unprecedented prosperity to the American society. New inventions like electricity, automobiles, and radios enriched people's life and helped to spread jazz in one way or another. But the famous jazz age was not without conflicts. On the contrary, it was an age full of controversy. The young set themselves free, especially the young women. They shocked the older generation with their new hairstyles and clothes. The new dances, along with the growth of jazz, further angered the parents. They blamed jazz for the moral declining and the social norms changing. A cry heard everywhere was jazz is ruining the youth of America. What will become of the country? In spite of the frequent criticism, the popularity of jazz peaked in the swing era, which lasted the Great Depression and World War II. When the greatest economic disaster in history came, a lot of Americans became penniless virtually overnight, and they were desperately in need of comfort. So swing, a danceable music played by big bands, became a respite from worry and a source of optimism. It soon gained dominant popularity. However, as the bands got bigger, collective improvisation was not so emphasized anymore. Rather, more emphasis was placed on the musical arrangement. Then came the 1960s. Big bands began to disband into smaller groups, so the musicians could have more space to experiment with improvisation again. More creative elements were incorporated into jazz. As it evolved over the decades, the music split into a number of different styles, such as bebop, and laid the very foundation for later styles such as rock and roll.
Hold me close and hold me fast. The magic spell you cast. This is La Vie en Rose. When you kiss me, heaven sighs, and though I close my eyes, I see love and